Hi, it's Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we're going to take a look at the Y-Start LK5008, LK5008, a long spear pointy type of knife. Come on down to the bench top and we'll take a closer look at this thing. Okay, so yes, this is the Y-Start flipper. I can't get it to flip just by pulling on the flipper no matter how I try. I think it's just the weight and the friction that's inside this pivot is not letting me do that. But a little bit of a wrist action and out it comes, if I do it right. I can do it much harder than that if I was standing up. I just don't have the room down here to do that. Okay, so let's look at the details on this knife before we get too far on talking about how well it flips or not. It's got a stainless steel 9CR18 MOV, stonewashed blade, sort of a cross between a spear point and a drop point, because you've got this unsharpened swedge at the top that you can see there as I turn it back and forth. Just over an inch thick at the base of the blade, and then it comes narrowing down all the way up to nothing. On this side you can read it says Y-Start. On the other side it says 918. I don't know why it says 918, except for that it's 9CR18 MOV. Now, I don't know why they didn't put the whole thing on and they only put the three numbers, but that's what it is. 9CR18 MOV. The stonewash feels really nice to the hands. They've done a good job with it. It feels so smooth and nice. The cutting edge is quite sharp, and it stayed quite sharp through my EDCing. Because there's a lot of substantial knife blade to this. It's got a flat grind, probably a 80% flat grind. There's just a little bit here at the top that didn't get sharpened. I've got to go take care of my dog. Okay, sorry if that barking was a little loud in some of your ears. We live on a short dead-end street, and our house, the living room window, faces right down the street. And it's a low to the floor window, so my little 16-pound dog can just sort of peek over the ledge, and anything moves on that street and he goes nuts. Okay, so I was talking about the blade. About 80% flat grind here. You've got a little bit of a flat spot here to clamp on for your sharpening systems that require that kind of thing. It would be nicer if it was closer to the middle, but you should be able to sharpen this knife fairly well with that kind of system. There's a nice little sharpener's choil right there, which makes it a little bit easier to do a good job at the finishing edge of the knife. The pivot has a little bit of jimping, not the pivot, the lever for the flipper has a little bit of jimping on there. Not enough to do everything as I showed you before, or you can do the thing where you build up pressure and then release and it gets most of the way. It's because there's a little bit of something. I haven't taken this knife apart because of the proprietary screws there. I don't want to, I don't know how soft that steel is, and I don't want to put a flat screwdriver in there and only get like half the, not quite the right torque on it. I mean, I won't be able to apply the torque properly because it'll just go on one of these wings, and I don't want to wreck it. But listen to this really carefully. Hopefully you can hear it. Oh, now that the fridge went off, that's good. Yeah, you probably can't hear that unless you got headphones on and turned all the way up. But there's a little bit of fine grinding noise in the pivot. There's some friction there that I don't like. I've oiled it, and that hasn't helped it very much. I think the facility was a little bit dusty or something when they assembled these knives, is what I think, and there's some dirt and stuff in there that shouldn't be there, which is unfortunate because it's a nice, heavy, nice knife. It's got that really good, spear point kind of look to it going on. It is what it is. That's the blade. You've got just a tiny bit of jimping right there for the thumb ramp, which is, it does a tiny bit of help. And the rest of the handle is basically straight going back into a little bit of a drop here at the very end. So pretty much anybody's hand can fit in this knife. If you've got a small hand, it's going to look like this knife is absolutely huge, but you'll still be able to get a good purchase on it. There's texturing on this G10 that helps, you know, two-direction texturing there. That helps a lot. Comes down to the back, and at the very end, it's rounded. You've got this back spacer made out of G10 with a little bit of soft jimping on it. Your lanyard hole's right at the very back, and the back spacer's screwed in by 2 sets of screws. So it's sort of like a back spacer, but it's still sort of like an open design. You can see my hand down there going through. You know, it's good for what it is. It works really well. There's no skeletonization on the lanyards, which makes it, not on the lanyards, on the liners, which helps make it so heavy. It's like 6.1 ounces, 174 grams. So it is a bit of a heavy carry, even though you've got like a nice clip on it to do ultra deep. Not ultra deep, I shouldn't say that. You can do very deep carry with this. You know, because the clip is right there, and your pants pocket will go right up to the end, and so you'll have just like 1/8 of an inch showing, if that. Because they did a good way, they designed the clip very well so that the heads of these screws are not underneath the fold of the clip, so nothing will stop the knife from sinking right into the bottom, right into the edge of your pocket there. The clip has got some decent strength to it. I like it. It holds very well. They've made a little cutout there for some design. It doesn't give any hot spots to your hand when you're holding the knife on either hand. Unfortunately, they've only made it the one side, so it's right side, tip down carry. They've given you no other options. I really wish they would have, because they could have easily put that clip on, you know, tip down carry, tip up carry. There's no problem. They could put it all 4 ways. They just didn't go to the effort of doing that. All right, so it's a liner lock, and it locks up, you know, right around 40% right now, which is adequate. It locks up nice and tight. I've got just a slight wiggle, and that's because I can get so much leverage from end to the tip. If I make it any tighter, then it doesn't open very well. You know, so it's sort of an average shape here. It's not a super good pivot, and it's not a terrible pivot. It's just sort of an okay pivot. There's a nice little cutout here to access the liner lock to unlock it and then close the knife. Works quite well. What else is there to say about this knife? It's got, let's talk about some more of the dimensions. 95 millimeters, 9.5 centimeters, which is 3 3/4 inch of cutting edge. When it's all the way closed, it's about 5 1/4 inches, which is like a 13 centimeters plus a bit. When it's all the way open, you're looking at 23.5 centimeters, which is like 9 1/4 inches. And that's probably enough with the specs. So what do I think of this knife? It's okay. If you want a knife of this style, go ahead and buy it. If you are just looking for more knives for your collection and you don't particularly want this style, but you'd like to get a Y-Start knife, keep moving on. There's some better Y-Start knives. Check out the other one that I've reviewed. It's a whole lot better in so many different ways. It's almost like night and day comparing these two different Y-Start knives. Hang on a second and I'll go get it and I'll show it to you. In case you haven't seen my other review of the other Y-Start knife that I've got, there it is. And this knife is night and day to the Y-Start that we're looking at today. It's got much better makeup, layout. It's got a much better design. It's got much better execution. It's got a better blade. You know, it's got D2 steel on this blade. It feels better in the hand. Every part of it is better. And this is, in fact, one of my favorite knives. It's in my top 5 ever. And So if you're looking to get a Y-Start knife and you don't have a particular affinity to this particular shape and dimensions, get the other one. Get the Y-Start. I'll put the number in the description, and I'll put in the link to the other video so that you can find it and take a look at that knife, because it is definitely worth it. This knife here that we're looking at today is good, but it's not great. So there you go. Here's looking at this Y-Start LK5008. Remember, guys and gals, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb. Bye now.